Hey everybody, this is Nayar from the StarPodLog and StarPodTrek podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about how to read dice. A lot of gamers out there have some confusion on how to accurately read dice. We're going to make some clarifications here. Now, we all grew up with six-sided dice. This one's pretty easy. Dice rolls from 1 to 6. Sometimes they're numbers, sometimes they're pips. Wherever it lands on top, that's your roll. We have a 20-sided die. Numbers go from 1 to 20. When you roll it, whatever is on top, that's your roll. 12-sided die. I loved this. When I was a kid, I called it the soccer ball die. You roll it, whatever's on top, that's your roll. The 8-sided die. Again, whatever's on top, that's your roll. 4-sided die, the pyramid. The older versions, you read what was on the bottom. On the newer versions, the ones that you virtually see everywhere, when I say newer, I mean we're going back decades now, notice that there are numbers on top. That, to be consistent with everything else, that is your roll. If it rolled this way, look at that. All the 3s are on top. That is your roll. Here's where the confusion often comes in with 10-sided dice, or D10s. That's how you would read it in a manual, a D and the face, the highest face of a die. So a D10 would be a 10-sided die, a D20 would be a 20-sided die, a D4 would be a 4-sided die, so on and so forth. If you see a number and then the D and then the die, that will tell you how many dice to roll. So if your instructions say 3D10, it means take 3 D10s, 3 10-sided die, and roll them. If it says best of 2 out of 3D10, you roll 3D10s. Look at that. A 4, a 3, and a 1. If I was looking for high numbers, I would take away the 1, and that would be left over. D10s are unique in that they are numbered not from 1 to 10, but instead of just putting double digits in there like they did with the rest of the dice, the 10 is actually a 0. So if I rolled this, that would not be 0, it would be 10. If you wanted to make a 100 roll, anywhere from the numbers 1 to 100, you could roll 2d10. The way you would do that is you would designate one die as, you need to have 2 different colored dice in order to do this. One die is going to be your hundreds die. Your other die is going to be your ones die. So if I designated the red as the hundreds, I roll 2d10. This would be 91. Three. 7. 5. More and more so, you're seeing people use a percentile die. That is a die with a series of 2 numbers on it, going anywhere from the 10s to the, again, double zeros, to make your dice rolls from 1 to 100. Here's where the big controversy comes through, is that some people don't really know how to read the dice rolls when you have a percentile die. I'll show you how it's done. This die happens to be a specialty die with the Orion Syndicate symbol for use with the FOSSA Star Trek game. So this is going to be your 0 digit that you find on your standard D10s. All you're going to do is you're going to take the percentile die, that is the die with the double digits, and read it just like you did your other die. So a 20 and a 4 would be a 24. A 30 and a 9 would be 39. A 50 and a 2 would be 52. Well, here's where the confusion often comes in, is what do you do with the double zeros and what do you do with the 0? If you were to roll double 0 and a 0, that is 100. If you were to roll a 1 with a double 0, that is not 100. That is the number 1. I've seen different versions of people trying to explain, well, you can add a number, you could subtract a number, there's all kinds of wonky ways. The only way to get the numbers from 1 to 100 consistently is to use this method. So, for example, if you had 0, 0 on your percentile die and 1, you would roll a 1. This would be rolling a 6. This would be rolling a 9. Well, how do you roll a 10? It would be 10 and a 0. That is how you roll a 10. This would be 11. This would be 12. Sound simple enough? 99. How do we get to 100? You roll 0, 0. That's 100. Hope that clarifies matters. Enjoy gaming.